Welcome to the Africa Heritage Diaspora Television, still the #1 voice for Africans in diaspora, tagged the African Union Television. Guess what? We are broadcasting live from the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. What a great news. The 16th annual assembly of the African Union has just ended yesterday. It was a huge success. Well, of course, we have said Africa matters in any way in so many parameters. We are lucky to have the executive officer, the vice president, and the vice chairman of the African Union who officiated and initiated this program to success here to talk to us. You are welcome to this program, sir. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be with you on this program.
Well, let me first of all express congratulations to you for the success of this summit. I attended, I saw things myself, I was there, everybody was so happy, and the people in diaspora were getting the feeling that something good is coming from the motherland, the continent. We are lucky to have people like you making the right decision and putting the right things together to now build the hope and confidence to our people in the diaspora. They want to hear and feel you. Tell us who you are.
Well, thank you for the compliment, but I think really that compliment is to our member states and also to people like yourselves. First of all, I'd like to pay tribute to you for starting this program to reach out to the diaspora, because in the African Union we have 5 constituencies in Africa, and the 6th constituency is in the diaspora. The 5 constituencies are North, South, East, Central, and West. And the 6th is diaspora. So it is really inspiring to see that we have initiatives like this one, and we would like to commend you for it. And that's why we're happy to associate ourselves with you. Well, as you said in the introductory remarks, I am the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and in this portfolio, apart from the primary responsibility of working with the chairperson of the union to manage the affairs of this institution, I also look after the affairs of resource management, financial management, institutional reform, and also overall management of programs like the summit that we have just finished.
Well, so far so good. You are such an excellent gentleman who have really consummated good program for the African Union over the years. What will you point to as success of the African Union since its inception?
There are 2 phases of the African Union.
Yes.
The first part of it is the Organization of African Unity,
yes,
which, as you know, at that time when it was being established in 1963, was faced with 2 options: to create a United States of Africa, or to start with regional economic groupings and eventually create a United States of Africa. That was Nkrumah's choice of an all-Africa arrangement. But the decision at that time was, let's start small with sub-regional groupings. One success that has been there, these regional groupings are now working.
good.
You go to ECOWAS, you go to SADC, you go to COMESA, you go to East African Community, you are seeing more intra-regional trade, you are seeing more movement of goods and services, doing away with these borders inherited from colonial,
Sure.
and we are seeing more of regional programs, whether it's in infrastructure, whether it's in education, and whether it is in health and so forth. The second success, I would say, the African Union has created an identity of the African.
Good.
The colonization had humiliated the Africans so much,
Yes.
that they lost their own pride,
Yes.
their own self. But now we have revived the African languages, we have revived the African culture, and the Africa is asserting itself on the global scene. And the third one is that Africa is now more united.
Yes.
Africa is addressing issues of development,
Yes.
issues of democracy, and that is because as a continent, we are all determined to say Africa cannot continue to be the soul of the world, the ISO of the international community. Africa must be a participant in global affairs, and Africa is now in the mainstream of global politics.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Change remains the only constant thing in life.
Correct.
But growth is a recession. You have really changed the status quo of African nations towards a broad brain, encompassing the ideology and all the progress of African nation, and also sending feelers to our people in diaspora that Africa matters. And that is the main core of this interview. Africa matters. With the syndrome of the brain drain and the brain gain, now professionals who leave the shore of Africa, who are masters in their art over there, who are doing something, and who are world acclaimed. And fortunately, they are looking for at least to now come over and contribute to the sustainable development of their motherland. With what you have instituted at the African Union that has really give hope and confidence, what is your message to these people?
We see the diaspora as a critical component of the development of Africa.
Good.
And there are already significant contributions coming from the diaspora.
Sure.
In many countries in the continent now, remittances from abroad has overtaken tourism or some export earnings. This is something we need really to recognize and acknowledge by creating a mechanism that can enable the diaspora to play their role in the African context. First, as a continent, we have now started talking to the diaspora to organize them so that they can participate in shaping the agenda and the affairs of the organization.
Right.
We are now talking of creating a remittance institute which can create vehicles for investment. We know some of the money that is being remitted is useful, is helping, particularly in education back home, investing in infrastructure, improving health facilities in rural areas, water, and so forth. But we also need the diaspora to be able to get something from the continent so that they can invest and get a return, because the continent has huge opportunities that we feel those who have their roots in the continent should benefit also from the continent.
Well, Your Excellency, I see a lot of changes that has happened even from the flag of African Union. I was here in 2005, I saw the flag and I see the horizon, I saw the stars and everything. This is pertinent to your own decision making of changing things, and can you tell us more of what you have innovated in terms of making things looking better in the African Union criteria of organization since your inception of office?
Our administration has been in place now for just under 3 years.
Yes, okay.
And during that time, we have continued to build on the tremendous milestones that our predecessors, President Konare and team, had put in place.
Good.
I'm lucky that we have an excellent team, our team leader being His Excellency Dr. Champing as our president. And coming here, we have looked at a number of areas. First of all, putting the African Union on the global agenda.
Yes.
Africa now sits at the G20 summit.
Okay.
Africa is at the G8 summit, and Africa is demanding changes in the UN Security Council, UN General Assembly.
Okay.
Those are some of the important elements of Africa. But we have also gone beyond that. Look at the climate change.
Yes.
For a long time, Africa was speaking with 53 voices. In the last 2 years, Africa has been speaking with one voice.
Oh, good.
We think this is a major achievement for the continent. And you could see the results from Cancun and even prior to that. Africa is also now developed strong partnership. We have partnership with India, where we talk of specific programs that are continental, that are regional, in the area of education, in the area of health, in the area of telecommunications. We have partnership with China, where we focus on infrastructure. And I'll be showing you some of the programs that we're implementing with China. And we have initiated the dialogue with the US to look at issues like AGOA, so that AGOA can change its shape, because at the moment it's a unilateral instrument, but we want to change it.
Good.
That is on partners. On development, we have initiated a number of projects. We now are implementing a Pan-African University project.
Okay.
We have a Pan-African rail network project we're implementing.
Good.
Energy projects
Good.
in that area.
Okay.
In the area of health, we have put in place instruments, maternal health care. We are pushing to eradicate malaria. There are some really major successes we have achieved. For instance, you cannot believe that we have eradicated rinderpest from the continent through the program that we implemented in the last few years.
Good.
In agriculture, we see the performance of the continent higher than previous years, and that is because our member states have agreed to invest more in agriculture.
Okay.
We have a continental program which is known as Comprehensive Agricultural Development Program, where we coordinate national, regional, and continental programs to make sure that this continent can feed itself. But these are only the beginnings,
Yes.
and we know we need to move further down the road.
That's true.
At the institutional level, we're changing the face of this institution.
Okay.
If you go outside this building, you'll see a huge structure coming up
Okay.
to symbolize the fact that this is the headquarters of Africa,
That's good.
a modern conference facility,
Yes.
but also to create capacity. We have almost the entire world has accredited ambassadors to us,
Okay.
because they see the significance.
Okay.
And because of that, particularly in the area of peace and security,
Yes.
Africa's voice now matters.
Okay. Yes.
And since your program is about Africa Matters,
Yes.
Africa is leading the way,
That's right.
even in solving crises.
Yes.
And those are some of the
That's
successes.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Your Excellency, I'm so much impressed by your way of diagnosing this information to the people, and also the viewers and people who want to learn and know more. There is now for them now to come over and support. We know African Union cannot do it alone,
Yeah.
but they can contribute their own quota, and this is the essence. When they get this feeling, we are grateful to people like you who have, you live in the diaspora yourself, you studied abroad, you come home, and you start building, and upon this you are making wave. And this has really excited us. The chairperson will be in Atlanta on the 28th of this month to commission the African Heritage Diaspora Television, the African Union Television. And we are here to talk to you, to get the feelers and also fill the quota, because he is the chairperson, but there are people that make the policy and make things move on, and also this is good program, this is good project. Now, you just talked about collaboration between the African Union and some institution organization. Institution like this, like the Africa Heritage Foundation, which started in 1996 during the Olympics, wants to bridge the gap and build the bridge between the indigenous, the intimate, and the distant Africans. And though that's what really matters for the people in diaspora. Part of what we are trying to exercise is this communication that now send feelers and truths of what we are and who we are and whose we are out. Another thing is the area of building the African village project that will now tell the values of people in Africa, in the diaspora, that they need to learn and know more. people are now hustling to get the DNA tested and also get their origin known. They are looking for the opportunity of getting the dual citizenship. And we have people like you in the area of policy. For collaboration between the African Union and the African Heritage Foundation with this project, what will be your thoughts and what will be your advice and what will you see happening today and in future?
I have been fortunate to interact with the African Heritage Foundation. That is a program that is second to none. And we believe in a globalized, interconnected world. We need to connect with all friends of Africa, and particularly those of African origin.
Good.
And for that, first to be proud of our own cultural identity and values.
Good.
And so we need to display them, to reach out and as you said in your remarks, many countries are now starting to appreciate that let's have dual citizenship.
Yes.
This will enable the Africans in the diaspora
Good.
or people of African origin
Good.
to feel they are wanted back home. They can participate in development.
Yes.
They can also be the voice of Africa outside.
Yes.
As you said, Africa cannot do it alone.
Yes.
And we remember, if you look at some of the countries, they rely on the people in the diaspora.
That's true.
Why can't Africa do the same? We are proud there is already something happening, but we can do it at grand scale. If you look at, for instance, in Atlanta, as you say,
Yes.
is home to many Africans
Good.
who have contributed.
Yes.
But in the US in general, you have over almost 50 million Africans, 20 million or 50 million.
Yes. Yes.
Look at their total wealth is almost, if not 3/4 of the entire Africa. That is a huge constituency that can invest in Africa.
Yes.
Look at Brazil and the other parts of the world.
Right.
Let's connect, because at the end of the day, if we don't carry our development into our own sphere and push it forward,
Sure.
no one is going to do anything for us. That is the change in Africa. It is not going to be done by outside partners. Africans must lead the development, and Africans must show the way.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You made the call, and I think we will spread the word around the world.
Yes.
We are very grateful to meet with you for this particular opportunity to talk to you. I believe that this will go far to tell the people and also orientate that your heritage is your pride.
Yes.
It is only when you believe that you become. And there is no other way we can make it than collaborating together and also agreeing and understand, because understanding, they say, makes outstanding. Well, I'm very curious to ask one question.
Yes.
You are very blessed. You look handsome. What is the secret of your health?
Thank you for that compliment. I try as much as possible.
Yes.
First of all, the balance between work
Good.
and family.
Good.
To balance between to have some time to do some exercise,
Yes.
but also to meditate.
Okay.
And that I have found helps me to keep me in check.
Okay. Your Excellency, I would like to ask you, what is your final message to the people in diaspora? And what do you like to get as a kind of feelers and contribution in terms of taking what Africa status is now? We're talking of a decade. In the next decade, you just see the gigantic edifice there, which will now command the interest of the international community that Africa has arrived in the area of organization, in the area of planning, in the area of putting ourselves together. What's your message?
Well, my first message is that this is Africa's moment.
Sure.
This is Africa's decade.
Yes.
And all indicators are that it is in Africa where things will happen.
Sure.
And Africa cannot afford to miss this moment.
Good.
Investment is flowing into Africa.
Good.
Africa has all the resources that it will take to transform its people, but we must lift the many millions of Africans out there who live under poverty. We should not continue to talk of just MDGs. We should talk of Africa participating in major technological programs, that we can also be participants in the global economy, because Africa is home to more than 40% of global resources.
Sure.
We have 1 billion people in Africa now. Our GDP is gone over 1 trillion. This is what we need, is to connect the continent. But the diaspora is a critical and indispensable constituency for Africa. So our invitation is that come and be part of this success.
Come and become the part of this process and the progress. That is the call from the Vice Chairman of the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. And this is a clarion call. For my people in the diaspora, especially where this television is broadcasting from the Clark Atlanta University, we have a lot of dynamic young folks, especially who are aspiring that one day we want to be in the motherland. The president of Clark Atlanta University himself is so curious and so much interested in Africa. They have really supported this particular program. Now it's happening. We are going far, and we are lucky to have the vice president of the African Union in the name of His Excellency Erastus J. O. MWENCHA, who has been the engine room of decision making in African Union. We are sure and very proud of your accomplishment, and with people like you, we know that we are going to reach the zenith of our callings. Viewers, this is another interesting program broadcasting from the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa, and we feel that you should know more and learn more, that Africa matters at the moment. To the glory of God, this program is also launched again here, Africa Matters, that is going around the world, in Brazil, in Europe, in USA, in Australia, and now here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Your Excellency, we'd like to thank you for this brief interview. It's so short, but very meaningful, and it has a lot of message. We are grateful to you, and we'll always come back, and we wish you all the best in your endeavor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay.